Hey guys, Dusty here. Today I want to share with you my 9 running essentials of 2021. My criteria for an item making it on this list is it has to be something that I use at least once a week. And with that being said, let's get right into it with the first few things, which are some of my recovery tools. Okay, so first up on the list is something that every athlete needs to own, and that is a foam roller. I've had this trigger point foam roller called the Grid, I believe. I've had this for probably almost 10 years. And this thing is starting to get pretty nasty. It's dirty, it has cat claw marks on it, my daughter's drawn on it. But this thing I've used almost every single day for many, many years. How I use this now in particular is mostly for maintenance, so I roll my calves out, sometimes I'll work my glutes, and I'll roll my quads out on this foam roller. Also, this foam roller has traveled the world with me. I like traveling with it because it has a hole in the center of it, and I can shove some clothes in there and then put this foam roller in my luggage, and it just makes it a little bit easier to travel with because it doesn't take up as much room because of the hole. So I know nowadays there are so many more recovery tools out there on the market, but you can't beat a foam roller. Next up on my list is something I've reviewed on this channel before, and that is my Chirp Wheel. And actually, since doing my initial review, I've picked up the small Chirp Wheel as well. So the Chirp Wheel is a yoga wheel, comes in a large, which I don't own, and then a medium and a small one, and is very simple to use. You just roll your back on this. So the Chirp Wheel in particular is nice because it has this spinal canal to it, and more often than not, the medium-sized one is good enough for me. So just like a 30-second roll once a day on this is usually more than enough. Sometimes I'll pause when it's at my upper back and let it open up my chest a little bit more. But usually it's just a quick roll up and down, get a few pops out of my back, and I'm good to go. Now when my back is extra tight, that's when I'll warm up using the medium wheel, and then I'll go to the little Chirp Wheel. Now this little one is very intense. I'll always get a ton of pops out of my back when I roll on this one, and this one, for myself at least, has helped me alleviate a lot of back tightness when I'm experiencing it. Also, my wife uses this little Chirp Wheel every single day. She always gets crazy pops out of her back too when she uses it. And I'll put the review I did of the Chirp Wheel up in one of the corners if you're interested in checking that out. Third on my list is easily the most expensive item on this list, and that is a massage gun. This is the Ached Away Pro gun that I have. So I would say that this one is on par with one of the more expensive Theraguns, but it's much less money than one of those. This thing is really quiet, it's super powerful. It has a whole bunch of different attachments that I can use depending on the intensity that I want and where I'm working on my body. And I mostly use this massage gun when I have a very specific trouble area that's giving me a lot of grief. So as an example, a few weeks ago I was starting to develop extremely tight calves, and simply rolling out on my foam roller like I have been doing just wasn't cutting it anymore. I needed to get in there and work those knots away, get rid of some of that scar tissue. So every night for almost a week, in the evenings, I would lay on the couch, roll up my pant legs, and my wife would go to town on my calves with a massage gun. It was extremely painful at first, definitely broke through those knots that I was having, and I'm better, and I'm back to just maintaining my calves on my foam roller once again. A really versatile recovery tool if you want to spend a little bit more money. And fourth on my list is something that I probably use the least out of everything I'm going to talk about, but that is a trigger point ball. So I mostly use this ball in 4 different ways. Now when I was training for triathlon, I would use it all the time. I would lay down and I would put it under my pecs. But since I'm not swimming anymore, I don't need to do that as often. So the other 3 ways that I like using the trigger point ball is, 1, I like to use it to help release my psoas. So that's an area you can get to through your abs. And not to get too technical, but basically I just lay on this with the ball kind of between my hip and my belly button. I'll slowly work it in and it helps to release my psoas. Next up, the trigger point ball is fantastic at getting into the glutes. So basically you try to find a position where you can relax your glute as much as possible, and you basically sit on this. If you have a knot, it'll be very obvious, and you can just kind of work that area back and forth until hopefully the knot will release. And then also sometimes if my foot gets a little tight, I'll just put my foot on top and roll it back and forth. So definitely not something I use every single day, but this little tiny ball has very specific purposes for me, and it does the job great when I need it. So those are the first 4 things. They were all recovery tools. I have many more recovery tools than that, but those are the 4 main things that I use at least once a week, if not every day. And now we'll get into some different types of things. 5th on my list is essentially a bed of nails, and that is an acupressure mat with an acupressure pillow. I don't use the pillow all the time, but the mat is mostly what I'm talking about today. So this acupressure mat, every few days, I like laying on it before bed, and I'll lay on it without a shirt on for anywhere from about 10 to 30 minutes. And when I finish and I get off the mat, I'll have all these hundreds of little spots all over my back, and my back will be super, super red. Obviously, this is creating a ton of blood flow into that area. And the biggest benefit I get out of using an acupressure mat is I almost always have fantastic sleeps after using an acupressure mat. Now, if you've never stood on one or laid on one, more than likely it's going to be incredibly intense, and you might only be able to get by with doing it for a few minutes, and that's with a shirt on. But eventually it'll get easier for you, and one day you're going to be able to lay down on it with bare skin, and any same sort of time as me, 10 to 30 minutes. You'll get some nice blood flow into the back, and maybe like me, you'll have a fantastic sleep. I'm not sure why this isn't something that I use every night. Maybe it will be now that I'm shooting this video. But as you know, sleep is important not only for everyone, but especially as athletes, as that's when we recover. And I believe there's a whole bunch of different benefits you get from laying on an acupressure mat, but I'm just telling you what the main benefit is that I find, and that is that I sleep really well after laying on a mat. And 6th on my list are Joya Toe Spreaders. These come in 2 different sizes, small and large. I went straight for the large size because I have freakishly strong toes, and I thought the small size probably wouldn't do much for me. So as many of you know, a lot of the running shoes that we wear kind of tend to squish our toes together, and a lot of running companies will promote that their shoes have a nice wide toe box to accommodate a toe splay. And that's essentially what these do. These are meant to realign or spread your toes apart. Now for myself, I don't have any foot or toe issues, but I was extremely surprised after the first time wearing these how painful it was when I took them out after only a few minutes. I couldn't handle it for much more than that. It only took a few times though, and now I don't even notice wearing these. I could wear these to bed and it wouldn't make a difference when I wake up in the morning, at least as far as that pain is concerned. So do these do anything for me? I'm not sure. At least that pain that I had the first few times wearing the toe spreaders is gone. Maybe my feet or my toes are getting a lot stronger because of it. But ultimately, if this thing is giving me even 0.5% gain on anything to do with my running, I'll take it. Okay, and 7th on my list is something that probably all of you have, and that is a GPS watch. So for myself, I'm rocking the Garmin 45, which is one of their more basic running watches. I use this to track my pace, my distance, my time when I'm running. I also like tracking my heart rate throughout the day. It does have a built-in wrist sensor, and I would recommend that you don't go off the wrist sensor when it comes to actual running. I find it not to be accurate, so when I'm running, I pair this watch with an actual chest strap. That way I'm getting a lot more accurate heart rate data. But this watch also doubles as a daily or a smartwatch, so I'll get incoming call notification, texts, emails, all of that stuff. But yeah, obviously a GPS watch is going to be on my running essentials list, and this is the one I'm currently rocking. Now 8th on my list is something that I recommend everyone has as well, and that is a training journal of some sort, or just some way of tracking your training, even if you don't care about it right now. Every week I like to actually write out my schedule and my goals. I think there's just something really powerful in the act of actually writing something out. So that's why I use a journal. Next up, I put some of my workouts on Strava just because Strava's fun. You can follow your friends, you can follow some other athletes, but I really like using Strava because it keeps track of the distance that you have on your footwear, on your different shoes. So I have a huge rotation of running shoes, and I like to be notified when I hit maybe 200, 300, or 400 kilometers, just so I know that that shoe might be getting near the end of its life. And then lastly, the number one place where I like to keep track of my training is on what's called Training Peaks. Now you can create a free account. I have a premium account, and it provides a ton of data. So you can certainly start to overanalyze things, but Training Peaks is a fantastic place to keep track of all of your training. You can write post-activity comments. It's an easy place to get synced up with a coach. If you have a coach that wants to look at all of your training and write new things in your schedule. And ultimately, if you don't care about any of that or you don't really understand that data, Training Peaks can be a really good place to store it still. So when you save a workout on your watch, it can just automatically be transferred into Training Peaks. Even if you don't look at it, at least that data is stored there. So if one day in the future you start caring about that data, or you start to understand it a bit better, or you get a coach, you can look back on the last few years and see how far you've come. But ultimately, that which gets measured gets improved, so keep track of your training somewhere. I don't care how you do it. You can write it down on sticky notes, you can put it on Strava, you can put it on Training Peaks, just do something. Alright, and the 9th and final thing on my running essentials list is music. So for myself, I've totally changed how I listen to music while I run in 2021 compared to every year before that. And this year I finally upgraded to wireless, and I got these Aftershokz wireless headphones, and these are what's called bone conducting headphones. So they don't actually go in your ear, and that makes it easier for you to hear everything else that's going on around you, like traffic, but you'll still be able to hear the music. And I strongly dislike running with my phone, so I needed something to pair these headphones with. So I picked up what's called a Mighty MP3 Player. And the Mighty is really cool, so it will play music or podcasts from Spotify or Amazon Music without a phone or a connection. So I have an Amazon Music account, and I'll download albums or whatever songs or podcasts I want onto my phone, and then I'll transfer them from my phone onto the Mighty. And then it's as simple as when I go for a run, I just need to, via Bluetooth, connect the Mighty to my headphones, and I'm good to go. Also, for the first few weeks in 2021, I had some serious issues trying to get this Mighty MP3 player to connect to my headphones, and I think a lot of that was just some user error on my part. But since then, it's worked like a charm for me, and I've been happy to run with my Mighty MP3 player and my Aftershokz headphones. So that's my running essentials list of 2021. I'll try to put links to everything that I talked about down below in the description. And I'd love to know what your running essentials are as well. So let me know, just leave a comment down below. And like always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.